As if we're so dumb that we can't see what's going on here, because we all had mothers. We all saw what they went through, and our mothers went through. We saw the myth of motherhood, the scam of motherhood that we're sold, and it didn't work out. It didn't look like it was right for a lot of people, because in the current system that we have, this capitalist, white supremacist, patriarchal hellscape bullshit, it doesn't work for women. That's the truth. The truth is it's not going to work for women. Our wishes and wants and needs don't matter. It doesn't matter whether we like this system.
Oh, no.
It doesn't matter whether we benefit from it. It doesn't matter whether we enjoy our lives. All that matters is that we are cogs in the machine, that we sacrifice our lives and our bodies, and we keep our mouths shut. And maybe, in fact, we tell other women it's brilliant and that you should do it as well. Like, that's how deep this internalized misogyny runs.
Yeah.
I'm Zoe.
And I'm James.
And we are Childfree.
We are talking to you from Germany. North
Don't know
of
why
Germany.
there was a little pause there. I think it's always, where are we?
Where are we?
Where
the fuck are we?
So, yeah, where are we, James?
We're in the north of Germany.
Right.
We're just outside of Berlin, where the weather's pretty weird. It was like raining so much I got soaked
weird.
on my run this morning. And now it's so sunny that we had to turn the van around
Yeah,
to not get blinded while doing this.
Yeah, but it's a really beautiful area. So the park up that we found is just around this reservoir, this nature reserve, and there are storks and ducks and deer. We were having breakfast yesterday, and a deer just trotted in front of the van. So
tiny little horses.
Oh God,
with,
miniature horses.
Frizzy little hairdos.
If you're watching the YouTube, I'll be inserting some video footage for you now because they are adorable. So it's a really beautiful spot to be in. I'm really glad that we get to come after Berlin to somewhere which is pretty chill, because we had a wonderful time.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's all or nothing. It's like you either see no one or very isolated, or then you go into a city and then you've got so many people and so much human interaction that it's becoming a problem.
We're too popular.
I wish, but no, it's...
no, it just so happened that like
talking.
our mates who hadn't lived there for years were also there as well. And we're so excited that we got to see them all, but it was like pretty non-stop.
Yeah, I think I
honestly,
crashed and burned.
Yeah,
after
I think
it.
that was last weekend, and I think I'm still recovering.
So
that's how good it was.
So yeah, we did like karaoke. We did the Berlin kind of roots that we loved.
Went to see a sick band called Holder.
Oh.
So if you were looking for a new dark medieval black metal band,
oh yes, please,
another one, check out Holder.
I'm really glad you got some of the pent up rage for pronatalism in your body out at that gig.
Because working on the outline for this episode of the pod pushed me to my limits.
Oh, did it?
So that's why we needed the little a little nature refuge away.
I'm scared,
to recoup
guys.
and come back.
I'm scared.
But before we get into that, let's have like a pre-palate cleanser. Let's drop in some good vibes before we go to the worst vibes.
Please.
We have a lovely review from a listener. So Zoe, if I can pass this to you.
So this is from Pixie6242. The title is Extremely Vital Work, 5 stars. It is so refreshing to hear child-free people that have made it their mission to explore the joy and the vitality of lives lived with integrity that also happen not to be parental in nature. There is kindness and support in every aspect of this podcast, which validates me and provides a safe space. Thank you. Oh my God. That is an incredible review. Thank you so much, Pixie6. I mean, that's why we do what we do, to help you feel stronger in your journey, to know that you're not alone, to feel seen. And it just means the world to us, doesn't it? To get reviews like that. It's truly the fire for us to keep going, keep sharing your stories and keep fighting pronatalism, keep trying to destigmatize the child-free life, because it very much is becoming a world which sees child-free people as a problem,
as a threat,
right?
And there's a real backlash against what that person simply put as like living lives with integrity that just happen to not have children in it. Like, it's not a big deal to not have children. It should not be.
No.
We would love to not be talking about this right now.
Yes.
But we have to, and I hope that this gives you some hope to know that we're in your corner as well.
Absolutely.
So if this podcast means something to you, please rate and review, drop us 5 stars wherever you listen to pods, and you can follow us on Substack as well to get more content like this.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want as many child-free people as possible to find these podcasts, hear the voices in our community, and know that they're not alone. And those reviews, they really do help push the podcast out. So thank you to everyone who has rated and reviewed it. We do appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
So now on to the horrifying stuff, right? Is that the plan, James?
It's always the plan. And we're going to talk about 2 articles that Zoe sent me recently. So it's kind of your fault.
Sorry, guys.
You sent me off down these rabbit holes.
They just pop up into my feed. It's quite horrible when you just wake up in the morning and maybe you'll check your emails and you're like, oh, there's another article demonizing child-free people. It's wild. It's really wild to just be like, wow, they have so many wrong assumptions, ideas, negative feelings towards people who are literally choosing or not choosing a path or living a path that is right for them, that hurts no one else.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild.
So let's get wild. This article that you sent me from Blaze Media kind of sums up the whole vibe. So if you could read the headline and the sort of intro text, here you go. You're welcome.
Why do the child-free want everybody, that's in capitals, folks, everybody to devalue motherhood? That's by Josh Slocum.
Zoe.
I mean, okay. And then the subtitle, for people so happy not to have them, today's non-parents sure spend a lot of time talking about kids. Woo, okay. Josh, wow, someone is triggered.
So what did you first think then when you saw this?
I mean, any kinds of just inflammatory language like this and talking about devaluing motherhood, how can our life path choice, how can we talking about a choice we've made devalue their parents' choices? Because when I see mother influencers, mommy bloggers, people sharing their lives about being mums, articles written about mothers, talking about all of the things involving mothers, I don't automatically think, wow, that's devaluing child-free people's lives, isn't it? So it's bullshit. It's just another bullshit way of causing division, of making parents look at child-free people saying, but you know how those people are really happy and proud and speaking about their life. What they're actually doing is devaluing your choice. You should hate those people.
Yeah, and what they're really responding to, and what the other article we're going to look at is talking about, is child-free people finally having a voice. Right? Especially women. And for the first time, being heard when they explain why they don't want to have kids, why they don't want to be mothers. And this is a pretty typical response, which has some ad hominem attacks on our community, like in retaliation to what they're hearing. So you'll notice, as Zoe said, everybody in capitals.
In capitals.
The idea that we want everybody to devalue motherhood.
Wow.
Is insane.
Quite a statement, isn't it? I mean, it's just,
But there's also more kind of clues in there which Zoe left you, which we're just going to stop down because my jogging pants just flew off our window where they were drying.
Literally just flew right past our faces. So if James
folks,
wants to get his pants back, he's going to have to stop the podcast.
I'm going to fetch my soggy jogging pants.
BRB.
Okay, we're back.
Wow, that was van life to a T.
What was I saying?
What are you saying? Talking about this horrible, horrible article.
Oh, of course, yeah. You might have heard in there Zoe giving some subtle inflection on a couple of things, because they actually put child-free in quotes with a dash in between the child and the free, and non-parents in quotes as well.
Doing so much.
Which is mad.
Yeah.
Especially the second one. But the first one, I think, is subtly implying that the term isn't real. Like, they hate to say child-free.
Yeah.
They like to say childless because it's their position that we're missing out on something.
Right.
And that we're all grieving and bitter, and then that's driving, I don't know, our campaign against mothers, but non-parents as well. Like, that's a very neutral term.
Very.
I don't know why they would have, like, a problem with that.
I think everything we do, they'll have a problem with.
Yeah. And I think they're, again, sort of implying, like, these are the terms that these people use to describe themselves, but we all know they're childless.
Right.
So that's what they're doing there. And yeah, the capitals, everybody, they're challenging the idea that we are happy. It's their contention that we're like bitter and we want everybody in capital letters to devalue motherhood. Why? I don't know. But we're going to get into that, to be fair.
Please, let's get into that.
So have you heard of Blaze Media before?
Oh, in my periphery. Not, I've heard of it in a negative way. Never really read anything.
Okay.
And so I've been lucky in that respect.
So you know to be wary of them.
Yes, absolutely.
They're owned by Glenn Beck. Do you know who that is?
No.
So he's like, was a classic piece of shit conservative talk radio
what
host.
A surprise.
Yeah, it's shocking. And he's kind of evolved into like the founding father of this new paranoid tinfoil hat brand of right-wing trash. And so with Blaze, he's bringing this reactionary brand of commentary to the new media landscape, which we're very excited to see. So let's have a quick cheeky look at their about page. Please read these. And this is just an excerpt. There's more where that came from.
Okay. Blaze Media is news, opinion, and entertainment for people who love the American way of life. Although the views of our writers, hosts, and contributors vary, Blaze Media is unapologetically pro-America and pro-free speech. It is the home of dissent from woke capital, I couldn't even get it out there, big tech, cultural arsonists, and state-sponsored media. We are builders. We are committed to America's founding principles and rebuilding America's cultural, political, civic, and journalistic institutions on the foundation of bold discourse, big ideas, and free expression. Oof, okay, yeah.
Pretty grand, huh?
Yeah, wow. I mean, so much is wrong with it all. Yeah. You know, the pro-America, it's just such a gross dog whistle, isn't it? It's like, you know, our version of America. We want our version of America, which is actually for the rich white men who, don't want to have things like, I don't know, reproductive health care, people to have health care in general, all of that stuff. It's a very specific definition of the people who live in America when they say pro-America.
And there's
it's
this,
gross.
And it's straight out of the new alt-right playbook, in which they're like pretending to represent everyone, while also acting as if they're being silenced, and they're in like a victimized like minority as well
because of the woke terrorists,
right? And so they're like, we speak for the real America, yet somehow we're constantly under attack from all sides for the stuff that we're saying.
Poor babies.
Like, they've got 1 million Instagram followers and 2 million YouTube subscribers, and yet big tech obviously hate them. Like, you think that fucking Google and Zuckerfuck like are opposed to what you're saying when you say this, when you come after child-free people.
Yeah, if
anything,
I think they love you. Any person, company, ideology that spouts hate, you are going to get platformed by big tech. You're going to get sponsorship. You're going to get money because it's hate that has the biggest drive and engagement. It's causing division, scaring people, causing that fear and division. That's what makes money.
Yeah, and that's what's driving this whole discourse that we're talking about today. But yeah, you're totally right. This like American way of life, that's a dog whistle.
Yes.
And it means white supremacy.
Right.
And they are white supremacists who are kind of kicking back against the idea that their opinions are getting less popular.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Wild.
Wild. We're just getting going.
It's just, yeah, as soon as anyone else gets a tiny bit of piece of the pie, it's like victim mode. Then these people are like, oh my God, what about my share? My share. Instead of truly living in a place that shares resources and treat everyone equally, they just want everything.
Yeah.
And this is basically their dog whistle to say that you feel like you're losing your privilege because, you are. When we give rights to these people, you don't get to treat them like shit anymore. And we're really sorry about that. So,
yep.
Oh, it's horrifying, folks.
And that's what's kind of running underneath this next article that we're going to jump to as well and spend most of our time looking at, because it's a doozy. It's a publication with a very different aesthetic, a slightly different audience, because in the alt-right mediascape, there are like two genders now. There's like the Blaze men, and there's the Evie women.
Oh, wow.
So, Zoe, what did you know about Evie Magazine before we saw this article?
Just that they're really wanting to sell this tradwife, picture perfect. You don't have to think about work, women. You don't have to think about that silly feminism. Feminism, it's so gross. So just trying to sell women on an idea to give up their power, basically.
Sell, you say? That's interesting.
Right. It's behind paywall, right? Some stuff's behind paywalls.
Yeah, I think we snuck this article out from behind the paywall.
Fuck you, Evie. We got it, even though it's behind a paywall.
$1 or whatever. But yeah, if you want to know more about Evie, we'll be getting into it in a bit. But there's this great spin-off from the Unladylike podcast called Gender War Games, which I'll link to in the show notes, because that's the first time I heard the people from Diabolical Lies talking, and the way they dissect this, like Zoe was saying, this kind of selling of this like trad wife dream is super interesting. And their whole thing at Evie is, they call it the future of femininity.
Oh God.
It's like wrapping up traditional ideas about what it means to be a woman with like a frilly bow of modern lifestyle vibes. Right. Oh. And they have lots of articles and advertising centered on very tradwife aesthetics.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if you clocked it, but there was a banner ad in the middle of this article.
No, I didn't clock it.
Okay, I'm going to have to show you. I have to show you this just before we get into it. So here it is, Zoe. So just tell me what you see.
Oh my God. Okay, I see a woman in a very tradwife-esque gown, one of those white prairie farm hands dresses with a little bow, and she has milk on her top lip, and the title of this banner says, "Got milk made?" ? The iconic raw milkmaid dress. Oh my God. So this is selling that dress. She is let's just say she's a buxom lady. They are, yeah. I mean, that is so gross.
Right.
What is wrong with these people? What's wrong with these men?
These men, but this is selling, this is a magazine for women.
Oh, internalized misogyny is a bastard. Like, and these women, if it's proximity to these powerful men, if they can be close to these men, then they'll take the crumbs that are thrown at their feet, and they feel like they have power.
Drops of milk.
The drops of milk.
Spilled from the table.
Oh my God. And yeah, they're quite happy to buy into this ideal, because if this is what the men are telling them that they should look like and sound like and be like, then they're going to fall in line.
Yeah.
Horrifying.
So yeah, it's if you want to picture it, it's like the Got Milk ads from ages ago.
Right.
Complete with the like milk mustache, which has always looked suspect at best. On, like Zoe was saying, it doesn't need to be said, a white, blonde, buxom lady in a classic milkmaid dress. They're still obsessed with the milkmaid dress and have been for years.
Over it, guys.
This is like the ultimate in tradwife aesthetics.
Yes.
Because of how it looks to men, and I guess also what it implies about living on a farm, doing manual labor, like the right-wing man's dream for a woman.
Oh, fuck off.
So fuck off. And let's get into this article.
Let's do it. Okay, so the title. The child-free dream is a scam. I don't have children and my algorithm knows it. I'm constantly fed high fashion and travel content and it's my fault. I've trained my FYP by saving this type of content for inspiration on my nights out in the city, and I'm prone to booking last-minute vacations. And while this by itself is harmless, more recently it's taken a dark turn. Wow. Ooh, what is this dark turn? Please tell us.
Well, of course we're going to get into that. But yeah, this like caricature of the child-free dream.
Yeah.
Just that little description is the like stereotypical idea of the dink lifestyle that very few people live, which we know from listening to the stories of hundreds of child-free people, and that even fewer would actually claim is like the whole purpose for their being, right?
Yeah, no, and this, people are surviving right now, and yes, if you don't have kids, you have maybe a little bit more money, but yeah, this is just this toxic trope that every child-free person is just swimming in money and traveling the world, and because of this project, we have known that it's much more diverse, that there's actually a lot more people who are just loving and living their quiet, quote-unquote, normal lives, and being child-free has given them that freedom to focus on the things that matters to them, important things, you know, mental health, physical health. I mean,
not high fashion and travel content.
No.
The idea that in like the year of our Lord Dolly 2026 that people are like on nights out in the city and booking last minute vacations, and that's what being child free is like.
And like
you know, and we know that that's not it.
Well, and the thing is, they're talking about probably people in their 20s who they're doing that in your 20s. Everyone is doing that. They are living their life a bit more without a care in the world, right? That's what you're meant to do. You're meant to go out with your friends and have fun, and you don't know the people who are in their 20s, even their early 30s, whether they're child-free or not. So lots of these people actually go on to have children. So it's just all wrong.
Yeah, and that's very prescient though. This is written by someone called Joanna Duncan.
Okay.
And yeah, she is younger than us at least, and so who knows whether she'll go on to have kids. Complete mystery.
Yeah.
We'll never know. And for the purpose of this article, she's definitely a child-free woman.
Right.
But yeah, so it sounds all pretty innocent, right?
Super innocent.
Well, it's gonna take a dark turn.
Oh, it sounds like it.
So let's follow Evie somewhere deep and dark.
No, thank you. There's a particular kind of video that keeps finding its way onto my screen, and if you're riding the childless woman algorithm like me, you've probably seen it too. It's usually a stylish woman listing off the things she enjoys, specifically because she doesn't have children. She brags about her sleep, her travel, her designer bags, her Botox appointments, scheduled without interruption. The list goes on, to include wine and spa visits on a random Tuesday. Sometimes the tone is playful and funny, sometimes it's defiant and a shameless brag, but almost always triumphant. The subtext is clear. Look at all I have because I didn't choose motherhood. As a woman without children myself, I must admit that I do enjoy the flexibility in my schedule and the extra funds for clothes and other fun things. So while I should be the kind to resonate and feel affirmed by these types of videos, instead I find myself deeply unsettled by them. Sometimes I'm even embarrassed by this community that I fall into, not because there's anything wrong with enjoying your life or your freedoms, but because of what this trend is celebrating, a life centered entirely on the self.
All right,
okay.
Thoughts?
Just my first thought is when we are watching anything on social media, we have to recognize there is an algorithm at play. There are people earning money off serving you content that's gonna get you riled up, that's gonna really hit that nerve, that emotional tug to get you to be angry. So that's why you are going to be served up things that are going to annoy the hell out of you, that are going to piss you off. And if you are dumb enough to fall into the trap to go, oh, because I watched a couple of videos of these people who don't have kids quote unquote rubbing it in, that means the whole child-free movement is a sham. I think it's pathetic, and you're just incredibly dumb.
Yeah, and the fact that it could be like naivety or not understanding how this shit works.
Yeah.
But in the intro, Duncan already mentioned what the algorithm is doing.
Right.
So there's an acknowledgement that an algorithm is serving you up stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think once you're pitching it and then getting paid to write it for magazines, which are not neutral.
No. And Evie is definitely not neutral.
They know what they're doing there.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into like what exactly that I think is going on.
Yeah. You're looking at videos and basically just calling out a whole group of people because of some shitty videos that you've watched online. And I mean, if I had done that, I would basically never leave my home. I would think humanity is just horrible. But I know, thankfully, because of being in this van and actually meeting our community and getting out into the world, there is so much more positive, good people out there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're on social media, guys, you're going to see the shittest, horriblest, nastiest kind of people. Don't fall for the trap.
Yeah. Yeah. And so before we get into all of that, I just want to note, again, the same invalidating use of language there.
Yeah.
So that headline about the child-free dream being a scam, it's the only time the word child-free is used in the whole article.
Oh, what else are they using?
Childless women.
Wow, okay.
So never men, only childless.
Oh, it's always just childless women. Women are always the target. All of the articles that we see, it's only women that they target. And maybe my memory is wrong, but I kind of thought it took 2 people to have a baby, and one of them has to have a penis. Like,
I don't think the writers and readers of Evie are getting the same education that you are. I think it's illegal to learn that stuff.
It's just, yeah, right. We're just going to keep that information quiet. But it's disgusting. It's like every horrible article that comes out about declining birth rates, choosing yourself, being selfish. It's women. That is the only gender that they talk about is women. And we can see that for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then you realize that people are reading that who are going, wow, those childless women are really selfish, aren't they? God, they just think about themselves. Never in their brain will they go, and men as well who don't want kids. It's almost like they just don't exist in this world.
Right. No.
Except you. Somehow you managed to get into this world. But...
I'm a unicorn.
Yeah.
But yeah, when this writer describes herself in the article, she talks about herself as a woman without children. Okay. Not, as she just said, part of this community that I fall into.
Right. Okay.
And you won't be surprised.
They're very different.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's passive language there as well about falling into this community.
Yeah.
And the idea that sort of this state of not being a mother is something that just happens to you.
Right.
But you may be able to then fall into a state of motherhood as well. It's very like passive. And I think that implies sort of a nature and an inevitability to this all. And you won't be surprised. We were guessing at it before. But yeah, she's basically a mother in waiting.
Yeah.
Who's writing
no
this.
Shit.
Who's kind of got like masked up to play one of us for the purposes of this article.
Yeah. Yeah. No, being in the child-free community is a very specific kind of person. Someone who doesn't want kids or can't have kids. And then there's all of it in between.
Yeah.
But if in your head you think maybe one day you are going to have kids, then I don't see why you would think you're in this community.
No. I mean, you're welcome if you're curious about things, of course.
That's it. If
welcome,
you're ambivalent, trying to work it out, of course that makes complete sense. But if in your head you're going to have kids and you actually just want to shit on people who are not like you, then you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Also, like, did this sentence remind you of anything? We'll have to see if this is just me. Joanna Duncan says, "Not because there's anything wrong with enjoying your life or your freedoms."
I mean, as in someone else has said it? Why
it's all right.
He has such a grin on his face, Lovelace.
I feel like this little joke is for like the other one person out there who thought of this. But do you remember when the episode of Seinfeld where they spend the whole thing saying like, not that there's anything wrong with that?
Yes, I do.
So they're talking about when someone thinks that Jerry and George are gay.
Right.
And they spend the whole episode being all problematic and no homo about it and being like, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Got it.
Which is very the polite thing you're supposed to say when you think that there is something to be ashamed of.
The mask is fully off there.
Right.
You do think there's something wrong with it. Absolutely. Yes. Otherwise, you wouldn't need to say that, would you?
And I love that. Just dismissal of like, not because there's anything wrong with enjoying your life or your freedoms.
Yeah.
It's like, have your freedoms.
I mean,
just be not in captivity.
Just admit that you're a selfish twat, though. Please.
Yeah. So that's just the intro. So we're about to read excerpts from a 1,800 word article.
Okay.
That makes a lot of big claims about motherhood and meaning, feminism,
no shocks.
And freedom as well. And aside from the author's own point of view, which we're going to get into, this is the single shred of evidence that they present. So,
give me that shred.
We're going to watch a TikTok now.
Oh dear.
What do I do for fun? I'm 32 with no kids. I get Botox. I book a trip at the last minute and pay way too much for the flight. I sleep in really late. And I hear a lot of, you should have kids, it'll be the greatest joy of your life. To which I say, no.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
This may be the only thing that Joanna Duncan has seen on her For You page.
And she got so triggered.
So triggered she had to write a full essay about
denouncing a whole community of that. Well, firstly, I would say that video is not as shocking as she made it out to be. She literally just stated the things that she does with her life, that she's very happy doing with her life. And no shame, no shade to her. Every person should get to decide how they live their life. And for you to look at a video like that and be so angry and be like, how dare you choose yourself, and how dare you spend money on things that are not what we tell you to spend money on. Look, it's everyone gets to live their life. They're meant to get to live the life that they want, right? And if you feel a certain type of way when you see that video, I think that says a lot about you. I think you're feeling like internalized misogyny. I think you're feeling like, hang on, women aren't meant to choose themselves. They're meant to choose everyone else. They're meant to choose their partner. They're meant to choose society. They're meant to sacrifice again and again. And watching a woman choose herself and be so proud about it, that gets people so angry. And I love to see it.
You love to see it. And I think, so on surface level, seems completely like vapid, harmless.
Yes.
But I think this is working on 3 levels here. I think I might have thought about this TikTok more than the writer of this Evie article.
Oh, I bet.
So first there's like the text of what it is, which is what Zoe was talking about, which is like these simple pleasures that are harmless and unobjectionable. And in the last bit, Carla, she's called, says that she's told all the time that she should have kids.
Right.
But she doesn't want to.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Right.
Like, nothing wrong with that. As Evie says, not that there's anything wrong with that.
I think, and that just made me think as well, there's often a real reason why these videos exist as well, is because when you are judged and asked and pressured and constantly there's a barrage of questions at you every day, sometimes by strangers, sometimes by loved ones, you get to this point of being so frustrated. And this is why I started We Are Childfree, because I was so pissed off about being asked these questions by strangers. And you want to put out there, I don't care what you think. You're so frustrated. I don't care what you think, and I'm going to be loud and proud about it. So behind that video is a woman who has been asked 1,000 times why she doesn't have kids. When is she going to have kids? She sees article after article telling her she needs to sacrifice her life. And that, if that's the only thing that she says and does, I mean, it could have been a lot worse, because the rage that women feel inside, child-free women are so deserving of the rage and the anger that they have. And honestly, I hate to see what kind of video I would have put out there at her age after being asked a million times as well. So, well done, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's like the surface level of what the video is doing. I was always getting at the intention behind it, which I think there's more going on with that as well.
Right.
The subtext is, if you want to read it this way, which is the way Evie is reading it, is that Botox, last-minute flights, lie-ins, that they're somehow the meaning to life. If you put them side by side with motherhood, it kind of encourages that comparison, right?
Just FYI, mothers get Botox, and mothers do things like that
as well. Or they buy milkmaid dresses, cosplay as tradwives.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Evie is making that connection only to point out that, hey, the things that Carla's talking about are actually kind of meaningless, right?
Okay.
That's not what's being said explicitly, but you can read the TikTok
totally. Like, how pathetic that this person thinks this is better than motherhood.
But I don't think they do. And I think this is getting to the sort of intention, like what you were talking about, like why this person is posting this.
Yeah.
It's because they're fucked off.
Yeah.
And they want you to leave her alone.
Yes.
And the caption says, Botox is the greatest joy of my life.
Yes, girl.
Hashtag FYP, hashtag for you.
Yeah.
So this message, she's not putting out this message for other child-free women who are supposed, because none of them are going to look at that and be like, I agree, cosmetic procedures are the meaning of life.
No.
It's to wind up people like
That's
the
it.
writer of this article.
Yeah.
And job done.
Or maybe not even to wind them up, but to kind of like, you keep ramming down my throat that the greatest joy is motherhood, that it's this thing. And I'm telling you, I get to decide what matters to me, where I find my meaning. And I'm going to put up this kind of like, it's obviously it's not meaningful to have Botox. That's the joke.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point of the video, to show you how dumb it is that we try and do this comparison thing where we go like, well, nothing is as meaningful as motherhood. How dare you go and enjoy your freedoms and your money or your travel? Like, that doesn't compare. Let's please stop comparing. That there is no comparison, because we're all different. Mm-hmm. One person's meaning means nothing to the other person, and that is absolutely fine and valid. And yeah, this idea that all women need to believe motherhood is the greatest duty that we can take on, the greatest meaning that we can find. There's a reason why lots of women then have kids and then they are depressed, because they do this really incredibly difficult thing and it didn't bring automatic meaning or purpose. For some people it does, but not everyone, because it's obviously it's a hard path and role to take on.
Yeah.
And I love that this woman is just basically trolling.
Yeah,
trolling
I think that's what she's doing. And I think she's like deliberately seeding this shit into the algorithm.
Yeah.
As like rage bait, basically.
Yeah.
Because like
it got 600,000 likes. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, it's the perfect video. Rage bait.
Because even though the writer started the article talking about algorithms, she doesn't understand them like this creator does. Right? Because the algorithm on TikTok and other social media is designed to show you more stuff that you like, which in the case of the person who wrote this article, she was talking about fashion, travel, inspiration for nights out, last minute vacations, stuff like that. And it's also designed to serve you stuff you really hate, like what you call shameless brags from child-free women, like this one. So at first when I was reading the article, I was like, is this about to be like a critique of social media and its reliance on rage bait? And I was like, ooh. And then no. No, I'm not about to find common ground with Evie Magazine. It's not happening anytime soon. But it got me thinking that like we actually hear a lot from child-free people that when they follow channels like ours, they start getting served content from and about mothers and kids.
Yeah.
And like a couple of things could be happening. If you were giving why would
a
you?
lot of grace.
If you were giving a lot of grace to like Meta and companies like that, you could say that like, oh, well, maybe they don't know how to categorize us just yet. Yeah. Across social media and legacy media and podcast apps and bookshelves and stuff, we get lumped in a lot with like family parenting.
Yeah.
Or even this article is under like relationships, which I think doesn't really capture it either.
Yeah.
So we kind of only show up as like counter-programming to the dominant narrative. You know, if we're categorized as like family, then all of the families following it are going to see it or a TikTok like that and be like, what the fuck?
Yes.
But what's more likely happening is that the app knows that you like child-free content. It knows that stuff about families and parenting and motherhood is going to wind you up. So it's showing that to you.
Yeah.
And so that is what's happening for Joanna Duncan, who wrote this article.
Yes.
It's not like part of some like massive global change in discourse or shift in opinion where suddenly everyone is devaluing motherhood or trying to persuade other people not to have kids because you can get more Botox and go on more flights or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that is not what's happening.
No, like, if we talk about the reality of who is devaluing motherhood, it's patriarchy. It's the system we have right now. It's almost ridiculous for the blame to be put on people like us when the facts are we live in a society that is doing it right now. The very people who tell you to have kids, who tell you that the greatest meaning in your life will be to have them, will devalue it to the point where you can't even afford to pay for your own healthcare anymore. You have to decide whether you eat or your children eat. And that's the most ridiculous thing about this is like they tell on themselves all the time.
Yeah.
The comments that they make about us, they're making about themselves. They're the people who devalue mothers. We are actually the people who talk about giving them support because it's almost, there's a reason why I looked at the role of motherhood and told myself, I don't want to do this. You are sacrificing for what? For a world that literally treats you like dirt? No. And I told myself I would never do that. I saw how my own mother took on that role and she hated it. And I just saw it as a thankless task. And yes, some people can want it more than anything, and it brings them the joy and the meaning. And I'm really glad of that. I believe that maybe that person has a lot of support in their life, maybe a lot of money in their life, because if you are just a normal person and you are living in our world and you choose the path of motherhood, it's going to be a really tough road for you.
Yeah. It's almost like they're being sold a dream of some kind.
It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. So like, I think we've established that like Evie is like blowing the shit out of all proportion, right? This one TikTok or whatever handful of TikToks you've seen talking about Botox isn't evidence of a trend or something that's widely celebrated, let alone this like threat to civilized society and everything that we know.
Right.
It's just a TikTok. It's not that deep.
It's not that deep.
But would it shock you to find out that Evie thinks it is in fact that deep and dangerous?
I am not shocked at all.
Okay, let's read a little bit more. Here you go.
When selfishness becomes the end goal. Let's start with the obvious. There's nothing inherently wrong with not having children. Some women can't. For others, the time simply hasn't come yet, or they aren't ready. Some women may never feel called to motherhood at all. Life unfolds differently for everyone, and reducing a woman's worth to whether she has children is both unnecessary and unfair. But what's emerged online isn't just the defense of childless living. It's a rebranding of it as a superior and luxurious lifestyle, one defined by leisure, consumption, and the absence of obligations. In this framework, selfishness is disguised as freedom. It becomes the highest good. While freedom is undeniably valuable, it was never meant to be turned into a self-centered lifestyle. When it does, it creates a life that looks full on the outside, but feels strangely hollow on the inside. It may work for a while, especially because you're always distracted and entertained. But at some point, the question creeps in, free for what? When you're the center of your own world, your world gets uncomfortably small. Okay. I just need a breath. I need a breath on that. I mean, yeah, like just that end point about your world becoming small. I just want to say, from my point of view, I see when people have kids, their world becomes small. They literally create a nuclear family. They're told to create a nuclear family and look after each other, but don't worry about everyone else. And I see that again and again. What I see from the child-free movement and the community of people without children is they actually pour into other people's lives. Yeah. They create community. They volunteer. They think about everyone but themselves often. We know that because we've been doing a project which has literally had their stories come to us. We've read your stories, hundreds and hundreds of stories, and I am just blown away by how giving our community is and how we truly think about the greater impact that we have on the world and the people around us. So that is bullshit.
Well, we're going to get an example of what Zoe's talking about in this article. Coming up in mere minutes.
Oh God.
But yeah, this this like the sort of, again, launching into with caveat. Let's start with the obvious.
Right.
There's nothing inherently wrong with not having children.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Yeah, it's very not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right. It's just how you perform it, right? It's just what you decide to do with your life. Always there's a checklist, right? And if you're choosing this path, you better tell everyone that, I don't know, you can't have kids, or you're giving over your life for some other big purpose. It's like, why can't we all decide what matters to us? And that's not selfish. And there's this constant idea of like selfishness.
Yeah.
Choosing yourself is selfish, and choosing not to have kids is selfish. And I will never understand that, because our decision literally affects no one else. And in fact, I would say it is one of the most incredibly loving acts you can do when you think about what would a life be like for a child that you bring into the world. What kind of parent would you be? What is the planet going to be like? You are not thinking about yourself often. So many of the people in our community, and myself included, thought about, well, what kind of parent would I be like? And do I want to have that child experience me and life in that way? And we go, actually, no, I'm going to protect that life. And I'm not choosing just myself. I'm actually thinking about a future child that would be brought into this world. So I actually believe child-free people are incredibly selfless, because they are the ones who decide to do something. Maybe they even have a twinge of like, I would want this maybe in another world, in another lifetime. Maybe this could have happened to me, but maybe I had a really traumatic upbringing or childhood. Maybe I don't have the financial means. Maybe I haven't met the partner or whatever. And it's like, these are really valid reasons why we have decided this is the correct, right thing for us. That's not selfish. That's selfless.
Yeah. Yeah. But people like this don't want women making active choices.
No.
About what's right for them.
Right.
Like, whatever that choice is, you're supposed to feel called to motherhood.
Right. Don't think too much about it. Yeah.
Exactly. And when they talk about reasons why women don't want children, there's a kind of like order of operations here, where they're like, well, some can't have children. I guess that has to be okay. Some just don't yet, and some may never feel called to motherhood, which again, the kind of implication is that like life just unfolds for women. Right. And you can either have them or not. You either haven't had them yet, or you will feel called to have them. Right. Or like ... maybe there's something fucking wrong with you. Yeah. And there's something in here that is like a strategic disclaimer, which is a term I've nicked from the podcast Decoding the Gurus.
Oh, okay, tell me.
Which is great. Where basically someone says something that's reasonable on the surface in order to just give themselves permission to go on and make some crazy claims. Okay. Right? Okay. So when Joanna Duncan says, quotes, "Reducing a woman's worth to whether she has children is both unnecessary and unfair," that's exactly what she's about to go and do. Okay, yeah, right? Yeah. She starts doing it immediately. She misrepresents this childless living as something that needs defending, boiling it down to leisure and consumption. And it like reminded me of the title of the collection of essays called Selfish, Shallow and Self-Absorbed, which is 10 years old now, but they're still coming at us with the same shit. Yeah. And there's something else going on here. language that you might not clock if you weren't raised religious like I was. Some of this language, like motherhood being a calling.
Yeah, gross.
Treating selfishness as the highest good.
Oh, yeah.
Concern with a self-centered lifestyle that's actually hollow, and then comparing how things look on the outside to how they really are on the inside.
Yeah.
And also that final like questioning, free for what? Is like, well, what is life? What is life really all about?
Yeah.
When I think the real question that Evie should be asking is free from what? Makes you think. We'll come back to that.
Makes you think, lovelies.
So this got me really curious about the writer.
Oh yeah, who is this person? Yes.
So they're careful in this article not to bring up religion.
Right.
They straddle this line that Evie does between the like somehow radical and the traditional, but while avoiding acknowledging that they're very Christian nationalist as well. And I was like, what is the deal? To get back to Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. What is the deal?
What is the deal with Joanna Duncan?
Dear Lord, that was good.
I think I sound like Barney the dinosaur.
Yeah, it's gone a bit cartoon character.
All right.
Yeah.
But what's her deal? All right, I'm gonna send you her bio as it appears on Evie.
Okay.
And we'll just see.
What kind of gal? What kind of gal is she?
What kind of gal pal?
Because she's not doing Botox, and she's certainly not consuming anything, and she's certainly living a very frugal, small, quiet life. Joanna Duncan hails from the Caribbean coast of Colombia, but can often be found getting her daily 10K steps around the streets of Chicago. She works full-time supporting women facing unplanned pregnancies, and she is certified in the Gottman method. Joanna enjoys writing about her passions, history, fashion, relationships, and life itself. What the hell is the Gottman method?
That's not what I thought was going to jump out to you.
But I also the unplanned pregnancies.
Yeah. Wait, the Gottman method is like an approach to couples therapy.
Okay, not as interesting.
No.
The women facing unplanned pregnancies. Yeah, like what the hell?
That's a red flag, right?
Yeah.
She's supporting women facing unplanned pregnancies.
Oh, yeah. So you want to, yeah.
Also, something else weird jumped out to me as well. Joanna enjoys writing about her passions, history, fashion, relationships, and life itself. She has a passion for life itself.
How selfish of her.
No. We'll see. We'll see. Like
weird eyes.
Yeah. Well, we're about to see like how much she likes life itself.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, her other bylines, right, are from Evie. The World Cup starts next month. Here's everything you need to know. This is the only way I found out there's actually a World Cup on.
Yeah.
The mothers behind history's greatest figures. For something called Zeal with an E on the end, which is a project of Catholic Vote, America's top Catholic advocacy organization, leading the fight for faith, family, and freedom.
Oh my God. Okay.
She did a guest post called The Revival of Family Traditions, brackets, and Why We Need Them, for the Brown Pelican Society of Louisiana.
So neutral that Evie's wanting to send out a really neutral voices.
That's a Catholic society.
Right.
The Brown Pelicans.
Okay.
And for Evie again, do rich men want a tradwife or a girl boss? Can you guess which side they fall on?
Gee, I'm going to guess tradwife.
Is it? I couldn't bring myself to read the article. I'm just guessing, though, that they're not fans of the old girl boss.
Still feminism. God, no.
So, she's a Catholic. She's a fan of, quotes, traditional femininity.
Freedom, yeah.
And freedom. What about that full-time work supporting women facing unplanned pregnancies?
Oh my God. Is there a photo of her outside an abortion clinic with a sign saying you're going to hell?
Well, it's more insidious than that. So she is a senior advocate at Aid for Women Pregnancy Care Centres and Maternity Homes.
Oh, red flag. Red flag.
Yeah, what do you think that is?
I think it's a scam, like a sham place that is there to, encourage women to not go ahead with their abortions, to basically tell them that there's many other options available to them, but when they are pressured into keeping that child, they basically don't give two fucks.
Oh, empowering women to choose life.
There you go.
From their homepage, Aid for Women.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's a crisis pregnancy centre.
Well,
which are these
golly.
with very sketchy places set up to scam people thinking they're going to like Planned Parenthood to get help and advice and support through their unwanted pregnancy. But what they're going to get is a lot of dogma, a lot of convincing to keep that kid, and then some kind of like basic ass support once you've had that kid as well. So we're looking at their homepage now.
So disgusting.
All right, I want you to check out, there's an amazing box in the center that says 10 things to know about Aid for Women. I'm going to find you some doozies. There are many ways to get involved in their rewarding, life-affirming work. So you can visit the support page. We'll skip that for we'll come back and donate later. Oh, here you go. I like this one, so can you read that?
Aid for Women was founded on the faith and teachings of the Catholic Church. However, we serve women of all religions, wherever they are in their faith journey.
That's nice.
Absolute bollocks.
Wherever you are on your faith journey.
Absolute bollocks.
Whether you've repented now or later.
Oh my God. It's so disgusting. I mean, getting these people who are in the most vulnerable places in their lives and lying to them and telling them that they will help, and it's absolute lies. It's the most disgusting thing I could imagine. And they do this, and they're allowed to do it, and they're allowed to get donations and money, and but thankfully there's accounts that go out and they call out these people. So the people who are holding up the signs in front of abortion clinics, there's an amazing video, these 3 women screaming at the people going into these clinics, screaming about murdering these unborn lives, and that there's always another way. And the guy asks them, so how many children have you adopted? How many children have you? And they're like, none. And it's just, they're hypocrites. It's like, as soon as that baby comes into this world, they do not give a shit. And that's the thing. Women are waking up to this fact that you are on your own a lot of the time, and we have to make decisions that actually are about protecting ourselves in a patriarchy, in a pronatalist world. We know the systems, we can see them now so much more clearly, and you're looking at that and you have to make a decision. If you have children, it's a lot harder to get out of that system, to not be oppressed by something that is there to make you, it's funneling you into a life that you might not want, you might not enjoy, but you don't matter once you're in that system. And it's just truly, disgusting seeing websites like that.
But there's some good news on this website. What does that say? So?
We pray for all those affected by the tragedy of abortion. Oh, there fuck off.
There's the quiet part out loud.
Right. I mean, that's it. These places, they're not neutral. They're not there to give you advice, to support you. They're there to pressure you, tell you that they will help you, that people will support you, that you'll be looked after. And once you have that child, you are on your own. They do not care.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's who's writing this Evie piece,
right? Oh, right. There's no agenda there, of course. No agenda going on in her mind when she's writing articles like this at all. No. Completely neutral.
Completely neutral. I mean, some of it's the kind of bullshit that child-free women have been hearing all the time, right? That you're selfish, your lives are meaningless, all the rest of it. But this and that Blaze article take a bit of a new tack, which is the idea that we are somehow being very individualistic.
Right.
There's somehow something community-minded about being a parent.
Got you.
And that child-free people are actively driving women away.
Right.
So, yeah, let's have you read a little bit more of the lovely Joanna's article.
The false divide between mothers and childless women. Part of what makes this trend so troubling is the way it frames... It's not a trend. The way it frames the conversation as a competition. Mothers versus childless women. Who is doing better? Is it the women waking up early and wrangling their children through morning drop-offs, or the women savouring their breakfast and putting on precisely the right amount of blush while listening to a podcast? These videos pit a world of chaos and sacrifice against one of calmness and indulgence. Mothers are often portrayed in TV shows and movies and even on social media as exhausted, overburdened, and resentful. That's because that's true. They're often the ones that have let themselves go and look 20 years older than they are. Childless women, in contrast, are depicted as carefree, polished, and perpetually relaxed. They're youthful, energetic, and happy. Each side becomes a caricature of the other, and the result is a growing cultural divide that benefits no one. The truth is far more nuanced. Motherhood is a source of profound meaning, but it also comes with real challenges. And not having children, or not having them yet, can offer flexibility and opportunity, but it can also come with its own questions about purpose and legacy. These experiences are not in opposition. They are different expressions of the same underlying human desire to live a fulfilling and beautiful life. Rather than competing, these two groups of women have far more to offer each other than they might realize. Wow, okay. I mean, it's like, she's not wrong about we absolutely should be supporting each other. There is no competition. It's just hilarious that you are writing that while stating all of the other bullshit that you're stating about childless and child-free women.
Yeah.
You're just making up this idea that you're not comparing, because what you're doing is you're saying this life has purpose and meaning and legacy, and this life is all about yourself and indulgent and selfish. You are absolutely trying to paint a picture there of one is the correct choice, one is the correct life, and if you choose the other one, then you are choosing the wrong path.
Yeah, it gives me like whiplash to read articles like this, because at some points you're like, you're right, it is a false divide and we should not be dividing people.
Yeah.
And then they immediately go back to like dividing people and saying that one way of living is better than the other.
Yeah.
And trying to convince people that their way of living is wrong, which has nothing to do with what we're out here saying.
No.
Not even when people make TikToks about Botox and flights are they saying that.
No. And I think as well, what obviously child-free people do is they are calling out the system. They're calling out that we are undervaluing motherhood, that that mothers are exhausted, that they're just left out, hung out to dry. We are calling that out. We are calling out the system that does that. So many people message us saying they would have kids if they could be the dad, because we can see can recognize that those two roles are very different. You know, dads get to enjoy parenthood. Mothers often don't. Mothers are expected to sacrifice and to give up their body, their life, their money, everything for this quote-unquote calling. And that is all a lie, that they are sold, that women are sold. And child-free people were calling that out, and they are terrified about that. So they need to make sure that child-free people are demonized.
Yeah, exactly, because we're calling out this idea that even in this article, she's putting forward that motherhood is a sacrifice.
Yeah.
But the implication is that it's all worth it. It's your calling. It's the secret to a fulfilled life. So the sacrifice is okay.
Right.
So what they're trying to sell you on is the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we are calling out when we are trying to support mothers, but also critique the institution of motherhood as it is talked about in these types of articles. And again, Joanna's not presenting these as equal things. Like being child-free is all about indulgence, but motherhood is a source of profound meaning.
Yes.
And not having children, she acknowledges, can also come with its own questions about purpose and legacy. Why? Because life without children is meaningless.
Yes.
So tell me again who's creating a false divide between women with and without children.
And what planet is she on to think that people who don't have kids don't have responsibilities, struggles? It's a struggle for everyone right now to keep your head above water. And child-free, childless, people without kids are also right there. Just because you don't have kids doesn't mean you don't have a lot of other things to deal with. And it just completely dismisses all of that by painting every person who doesn't have kids to have this wonderful, carefree, responsibility-free life. Like, you can do whatever you want, right? And we see this comes up a lot in work. And there's a lot of problems for non-parents at work. And that's why we go into companies to actually educate companies and parents that when you say to a child-free person, oh, well, you don't have anything else better to do with your time, right? Or you don't do anything on the weekends, right? You can take on this person's extra work, right? Because you don't have anything to do. It just completely dismisses actual pain that many of us are living with, just trying to survive in a capitalist hellscape that is a struggle for all of us. We are all facing that struggle.
Yeah, 100%. So
I'm getting riled up.
But like, it's interesting that you talked about child-free women supporting other people and also people's lived experiences and hearing from them and sharing them.
Right.
Because Joanna has a personal story to tell. Once she's done with this apparent like social analysis and media criticism that she's been doing.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, she has a little anecdote for you all.
A personal shift in perspective. I've always wanted kids and still do, but these past few years I've felt a shift. Those late nights out no longer appeal to me the way they used to. Now, even when I go out, I'm wishing I was home with a family instead. When I share this with my friends who are mothers, they often mention how much they envy me just because I'm able to sit down and watch a movie or my favourite show without interruption, or because my Instagram showcases a lifestyle they miss at times. Whichever path you choose, no woman gets to have it all. The point is that while going through it, we can have each other. Recently, a close friend of mine had her 4th child shortly after she was placed on her bed rest. Her husband was doing everything he could, but managing a newborn and 3 young children is not exactly a one-person job. She was one of those friends I had enjoyed plenty of Chicago nights with, but we had lost touch somewhat since she got married and became busy with pregnancies, infants, and family life. But she was still my friend nonetheless, and when I reached out to congratulate her for her 4th child, she told me about how she was struggling. Without hesitation, I started going over to help. Sometimes I'd play and make dinner with the older kids. Other times I'd simply sit and talk with her. Compared to our late night outs after concerts, it was decidedly unglamorous. I could have chosen to stay home with a face mask and watch Netflix, one of my top favourite post-work rituals. But being present for her and her family was not only nice for them, it was also nice for me. It brought me out of my bubble, and in doing so gave me an opportunity to love and be loved. Isn't that what it's all about? It reminded me, this is horrifying, it reminded me that my time, my energy, and even my freedom aren't just assets to be spent on myself. They're resources that can be freely shared, and giving, it turns out, is far more satisfying and fulfilling than consuming. Holy shit.
What do you mean horrifying? That's just like a lovely story of solidarity and women supporting women, right?
Oh my God. So is she actually telling child-free people to go over and care for other people's children, to give their time? So I want to preface this. Yes, when our friends have kids, we know how hard it is. So we are as flexible as we can be. In those first years, we can see how overwhelming it is. So in friendships, there is a give and take. You absolutely need that equality and sharing, but you understand that when people go through huge shifts in their life, there might be an imbalance, but you always know it should come back to you. We should have this give and take and this equality. And that's why child-free people do a lot. When their friends have kids, they will go to see them, be flexible on the times and the hours. They do what they can to make it work, because no one wants to lose their friends, right?
Right.
But then there comes a point where you feel like you're left out, where there is no, I can never say this word, reciprocity, where you feel like you're giving and you're not receiving. And that really hurts. And we get it. It's not a personal attack on us. We understand that when you have kids, basically your priorities shift. We get that. But what this lady is saying is that we should just keep giving and keep going over and basically look after other people's children, because that's better than spending time on ourselves.
Well, yeah, like apparently we are individualistic and isolated and cut off from community.
Right.
But did you notice who was there for this mother?
Her friend?
A child-free woman.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So like you're saying, we hear from so many child-free folks who show up for their friends in similar ways.
Yes.
Only to be hearing from society and the media that they're selfish, individualistic, don't have a stake in society, have shunned community.
Oh, yeah.
But when I was reading this, I was like, yeah, her friend sounds very isolated.
Where's the man? Where's the partner? Sorry.
Well, right.
That's always my thoughts.
He's at his incredibly well-paid job,
right?
Because they've got 4 kids in Chicago.
Yeah.
Which, like... Who has that?
Right.
And so this woman's stuck home, is isolated, raising a lot of kids herself, which is like the dark side of this tradwife dream.
Isolate the mums, isolate the women, absolutely.
So it's not the like own that Joanna Duncan thinks it is.
No.
Telling us that we're all selfish and then regaling this story about how she showed up for her friend. But she still doubles down on how life without children is like centered on consumption and glamour. And while playing mum, on the other hand, gave me an opportunity to love and be loved.
Oh my God.
Isn't that what it's all about?
Isn't that what it's all about, folks?
And also, I just wanted to like ping something else in there. This, when she says, no woman gets to have it all.
Okay.
This is very...
Yeah, right.
The like right wing, the like right response.
Yes.
Because what they're trying to do.
Be happy with what you've got.
Or be unhappy with what you got.
Right.
Because third wave feminism and feminism in general has taken us too far.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Basically, there's this idea that like feminists got too greedy.
Right.
And bought too many empty promises.
And having the job and having the
exactly.
Being a mum and having a job is such a tough life that maybe you should just sack in the career. Maybe actually you should just let someone look after you, protect you, be your provider.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's the dream, right, ladies? Little do we know that once that woman doesn't have access to money, financial freedom, personal freedom, all of her friends. I've seen videos where mothers are like, I don't have any friends because I'm raising children and a homemaker and looking after all of this stuff. I don't have time to even have friends. And that's the point. That's exactly being a tradwife. The whole point is to isolate these women off so that they have nothing and that they can't leave. They can't leave their abusive husband or their shitty partner. They can't have a job. They can't look after these kids by themselves. So they stay put. This is what our mums and their mothers, that's their lives. That's what they had.
Yeah.
And our generations were looking at that going, this is beyond fucked up. I will never repeat that. I don't want to be in that. And the scary thing is, obviously, patriarchy sees that we are actually deciding now to opt out of that.
Yeah.
And they now need to spin it and say, like, you know how you're really tired? Because, it is really tiring having a job.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, but this is capitalism.
You can't have it all. So, like, you might as well just give up and be a tradwife.
Yeah.
And, like, get back in your gilded cage.
Right.
Like, it was nice. It was comfortable in there.
Yeah. Instead of actually like attacking capitalism that makes it impossible to live without 2 salaries, it's like instead of attacking the systems, they're going to go for the people who they know that they can divide and distract us.
For the women.
For the women, absolutely. And if you're like a browbeaten woman who is just exhausted and tired and hating your life, you need to look at those women over there who they're the ones who wanted feminism and wanted you to have the vote. And it's just also tiring, isn't it? Like maybe you should just hand things off to your husband and everything will be so much better.
Yeah. So in my notes it says like, so what is this all about? I mean, this is what it's all about, right?
What is it all about?
What is it all about? So to look at Evie and why they might be publishing articles like this, right? They describe themselves as the conservative Cosmo.
Okay.
But Wikipedia says, Evie Magazine is an American alt-right women's magazine. It was founded in February 2019 by husband and wife Gabrielle Hugo Boom and
That's a normal name.
And Brittany Martinez, with Martinez as editor-in-chief. Evie has published conspiracy theories, pseudoscientific content, and anti-vaccine misinformation.
Check.
Yeah,
all makes a lot of sense.
It's given fascism for the girlies, like Lady Blaze. So I'm gonna spare you. I've just like copied and pasted their whole about page into here, but it's a lot. So I'll give you the highlights,
Please.
Right? So Evie was founded with one goal in mind: women deserve better from women's media.
Just that one goal, eh?
The editors of the famed publications have been responsible for harmful advice that has resulted in a generation of women experiencing more depression than any other in modern history.
Okay.
It's feminism's fault.
That goddamn feminism.
So they talk about how women's magazines have pushed agendas driven by one-sided politics, cultural anti-values, and ad-driven profits. This I fucking loved, right? We strive to back our editorial decisions with science and sound data.
Damn.
But also acknowledge that critical thinking is just as important in times of uncertainty, like in the early days of COVID-19, when Evie published many firsts that were later proven to be true, despite countless hit pieces from mainstream, quotes, journalists.
Oh, quotes, okay.
So there's the conspiracy theories. So they were wilding out during COVID, which probably got them their first bits of attention and drew people to them.
Right.
But relevant to this article, we know that no matter how hard the forces that shape society the fucking writing. For writers, they're terrible.
Yeah.
We know that no matter how hard the forces that shape society advocate otherwise, women and men are inherently different. And we believe that the only way forward is to acknowledge and celebrate those differences by embracing our nature, despite the world telling us we should hate the realities of our biology and what they are. The sigh says it all.
Oh, God.
In many ways, Evie is a departure from the mainstream culture that encourages women to engage in destructive behavior in the name of self-love and empowerment. From our physical and emotional health to our romantic and sexual fulfillment. Rather, we strive to highlight proven paths to longevity and joy, helping women celebrate their femininity in all areas of their lives.
Oh, God.
Millions of women have been forgotten by the publishing world, but we'll let you in on a little secret. The old world of women's media is crumbling. Women are no longer buying what they're selling.
Wow.
And if you're reading this, we have a feeling you're going to feel right at home.
God, yeah.
But who's selling stuff here? And what are they selling?
Yeah.
Because as we always say, at We Are Childfree, we are not about convincing not to have children or to have fewer children. We believe in reproductive justice, which is the right to have a child, the right to not have a child, and the right to parent a child or children in safe and healthy environments.
Yeah.
That's what we believe. We're not selling it, we advocate for it, we think it's important, but we don't have any agenda here. And other child-free women, when they talk about their life, they're not trying to convince anyone that it's better than a mother's life, just that it's a better fit for them.
Yes.
And often, like you were saying before, one of the reasons that child-free women voice this stuff out loud is that they're sick of being told that you'll change your mind, you'll regret it, you'll miss out on something.
Finally we have a platform that we can actually say it out loud. I don't want children. I never have wanted children. Or it's just not for me. Whatever the reasons, they're valid. It's empowering to be able to stand in your truth and say that, because the whole world is telling women that they need to do this thing, want this thing, love this thing, and basically just as if we're dumb. That's what really really annoys the hell out of me. As if we're so dumb that we can't see what's going on here, because we all had mothers. We all saw what they went through, and our mothers went through. We saw the myth of motherhood, the scam of motherhood that we're sold, and it didn't work out. It didn't look like it was right for a lot of people, because in the current system that we have, this capitalist, white supremacist, patriarchal hellscape bullshit, it doesn't work for women. That's the truth. The truth is it's not going to work for women, because we're not meant to be part of the deal. Our wishes and wants and needs don't matter. It doesn't matter whether we like this system. It doesn't matter whether we benefit from it. It doesn't matter whether we enjoy our lives. All that matters is that we are cogs in the machine, that we sacrifice our lives and our bodies and we keep our mouths shut. And maybe, in fact, we tell other women it's brilliant and that you should do it as well. Like, that's how deep this internalized misogyny runs.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll take a brief break from the internalized misogyny and get back to good old external misogyny.
Let's do it.
So that article we started with from Blaze Media, written by Josh Slocum.
Right.
This, we have to come back and revisit the opening part of this article. Here you go.
Oh God. Okay. When my mother lost her temper, her most frequent complaint was the existence of her children. I could have been someone if I hadn't been saddled with 3 kids and no damned man to help me, she'd yell between puffs on a cigarette. Back in the 80s, I didn't know any other mothers who blamed their children for ruining their lives, or who said out loud that they regretted their children were born. They surely existed, but decent people didn't express such dark thoughts in public. Ball and chain. We've come a long way, baby. In the 21st century, it's socially acceptable to talk about children as a ball and chain, a fetter on freedom, the reason a mother's life never took off. Children were once thought of as a gift. For an increasing number of women, they're seen as a burden. Yeah, it's always the blaming of women. It's always... I mean, don't get me wrong. When children are raised by any parent who abuses them, who makes them feel like they are a burden, yeah, that's wrong. That's generational trauma. Mm-hmm. And for so many women have lived with that generational trauma. They didn't get the support that they needed. They were treated horrifically and they were trapped. We just got bank accounts in the 1970s. So women basically did not have any freedom of autonomy and we had no choice in our lives, basically. That leads to trauma, that leads to abuse. And it's horrible that women dealt with that. And we are now able to voice how fucked up that is. And that we're not going to be, basically, we're not going to be a part of the system if it is going to continue to do that to women.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about our movement, is that we are going to be vocal about this.
Mm-hmm.
Because for so long, women before me didn't have a voice and they didn't get to decide whether they had kids or they didn't, and who their partner was, and whether they had a career or not. They did not get a choice.
Mm-hmm.
We now have a choice, and we are making the choice that is best for us.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like that. It terrifies patriarchy. It terrifies pronatalism. 100%. And this is why we're seeing, yes, women having fewer kids or not having them, but men need to look at themselves and the system and go there's a reason why women are doing this.
No, they don't want to do that because this article, this is written by a man, presumably for men.
Right.
And there's no
women,
pretense at all. Unlike Evie, where they have to pretend they care about mothers, there's no pretense at all. They care about the institute of motherhood, and they equate it with sacrifice and suffering.
Yeah.
So from his weird little fucking anecdote about his childhood, which sounds horrible,
right?
The problem was not that his mother was having a hard time and was
not the man who left her.
Yeah, and the problem wasn't that she was suffering. The problem that she was saying it out loud. And he was like, there were probably lots of other women who felt the same way, but they had the decency not to say it.
Yeah.
And the problem now is that they're not keeping their mouth shut. Yeah. So it's kind of a campaign on 2 fronts to kind of coerce women into motherhood, scam them into motherhood, and also keep them quiet about the realities of it. So I guess so you can scam more people into motherhood.
Completely.
And that is what is being sold here.
Yeah.
But like you were saying about intergenerational trauma and sacrifice, that made me think of a quote from Shelley.
Yeah.
You know what's coming.
Oh, I know what's
coming. Shelley, a third-wave
quote.
feminist and therapist who is an icon in our minds. The first person to ever donate money to We Are Childfree. Rest in power, Queen.
Yeah.
She was talking to her mother.
Yes.
And this was the conversation they had.
And she said, "You'll see when you're older, you'll be happy to sacrifice your life for your children, just like my mother's mother sacrificed for her, and my mother sacrificed for me, and you'll sacrifice for your children." And I said, "Absolutely not. I am not doing that. I said, it doesn't make any sense. If your mother sacrificed her life for you and you sacrificed for me, and it just keeps going like that, no woman, child gets to live. It doesn't make any sense. You keep sacrificing as if someone is going to benefit from this, but it's just sacrifices for the girls all the way down the line. You know, I just told her I'm going to live my life in honor of all the sacrifices that have gone before me, and at least someone is going to live.
Right? Amazing.
So, like, yeah. James has tears in his eyes as well. So it does. It's like, God, yeah, she fucking nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And if you are out there frustrated at being called selfish and being told that actually it's your calling and your duty to sacrifice for other people, for this idea of what motherhood should be, just please let Shelley's words ring true and keep them close to your heart, because I'm done with sacrificing. And I know there's so many of you listening who are done sacrificing, and we deserve, for the women who came before us who didn't get choices in their lives, we get to decide and live our life the way that they didn't get to do it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Shelley, so much for those words. I'll never forget them.
No, incredible. And around the time of this article, Peanut, who are this app for mothers and do a lot of advocacy for mothers, they carried out a survey.
Ooh, boy, did they.
Which gives you an idea of what motherhood really looks like.
Right.
So it's bad to call this like highlights,
yeah.
but some
horrifying highlights,
horrifying lowlights of their 2026 Motherhood Index, where they surveyed thousands of mothers. Here you go. 93% of mothers experience burnout. 58% often or almost always. It has become the defining condition of modern motherhood. Over a third of mothers survive on fewer than 4 hours of broken sleep a night. Sleep deprivation at this scale has cascading effects on mental health, decision-making, and quality of life. It shouldn't be a rite of passage. 61% of mothers describe their well-being as good, but 93% experience burnout, 70% are severely sleep deprived, and nearly 1 in 4 rate their mental health as poor or very poor. Have we lost all understanding of what good really means? And I'm going to link to that. There's way more below the surface of that. There's a lot more horrifying stuff. That's what modern motherhood looks like these days. And even the idea of like things when you ask people and they're like, oh, it's good, and I'm depressed and I don't sleep and I'm experiencing burnout, it's because, well, no, what were you going to say?
I was going to say the reason why they say it's good is because we have been sold this scam. We have been told that it's all worthwhile, that, you know, the joy and the meaning and everything it'll all be worth it. So of course you're telling yourself, oh, well, this is how it's meant to be, right? So, yeah, this is good, because if you say it's bad, you're also a terrible mother. Like, that's the other side of it. If you're honest with yourself and you say, I don't like this, or sometimes I hate it, you will be shamed and told you're a terrible mother, a terrible person. It's like the ultimate taboo. That's probably the last taboo, is a mother saying they regret their choice. So I think the conditioning is so deep, so deep that they're convincing themselves that I'm fine, it's good. But truly, those data points, they tell a very different story. And my heart breaks for those women. Like no women should be told that this is the thing that they should do with their life, that it'll be all wonderful and, they'll get the support and everything. And the rug is literally pulled from underneath their feet, and sometimes by people they love, because their partners aren't showing up, society isn't showing up, and they are alone in that.
And I think part of this is like a deliberate way in which to keep the institution of motherhood going, perpetuated in the same way without adapting
changing
or making accommodations or anything. Because like you're saying, the mothers in this survey, they're not getting support from their partners at work, in their communities. They're just getting a lot of lip service. And the more that you present motherhood as this important and meaningful and ultimately loving thing. And the more you glamorize the sacrifice that goes into it, the less material support you can get away with actually offering people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what some women are looking at and thinking like, no, thank you.
Right.
Like Zoe said earlier, we have had more than one person just out of the blue come to us and be like, yeah, if I could be a dad, I'd have children.
Oh, yeah. We've heard this from multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because the roles are very different and they've been created in a way that protects men. There's a reason we have a fatherhood bump, which actually means men are going to earn more when they have kids. And we have the mother...
Be given promotions and more assumed to be more responsible.
Status, all of that. Because for them, having a child is the ultimate status symbol.
Mm-hmm.
And women, we have the motherhood penalty. They actually lose money. And it's kind of like discombobulating when you know all of this, you know all of the facts.
Yeah.
And then you have articles like this and you have all of this anger and shame and pressure and vitriol aimed at child-free people and not the system, not patriarchy, not the people who are actually leaving mothers out to dry. It's beyond depressing that people are so blind that they can't see what lie they're being sold.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope this podcast episode can shine a light on what's actually underneath all of this, what actually is the truth of all of this. Because if you're angry at child-free people, if you think we are individualistic, choosing ourselves, selfish, you are buying into a lie that has just been pushed to you by the people up there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Including the lie that we somehow are against mothers and their choices and stuff. Like, let's not confuse this rejection of motherhood, the institution, with all of the like bullshit and sacrifice and pain and suffering that comes with it, and all of the injustice and inequality that's in that. Let's not confuse a critique of that with somehow rejecting mothers.
Right.
Because we want better for women.
Yeah.
Like the women who choose to be mothers and need support, and the women who choose not to and deserve to be free of stigma and judgment, and the women who can't, and all the women to be able to live their lives free of judgment and stigma, and to get the support that they need, and to be able to speak openly and honestly about what they're going through.
Right.
That's literally all we want.
Yeah.
And that is what articles like this and people like this do not want at any cost, because then the truth gets out there and it makes it harder for them to scam people.
Yeah, they don't want people like us calling out the bullshit and saying, actually, you are arguing with the wrong people, like you're looking at the wrong people. They don't like that we are not about causing division. They don't like that we are about supporting parents. They need us to be divided.
Yeah.
Because it's easier for them. If women are isolated, if we keep women isolated from other women who are there to support them, then they are trapped. If they can make women hate other women, then we are so much weaker. We are so much stronger if we actually stand together. Mothers, non-parents, if we actually support each other and call out the real reasons why our lives suck, which is patriarchy, capitalism, white supremacy, pronatalism. It's nothing to do with the child-free movement. We can change things.
Yeah. And we have some wonderful supporters who are parents and mothers.
Yes.
And we especially love that, and we love hearing from mothers who are thankful for what we're doing because it helps them have conversations with their children about their choices for their own lives.
Right, and that's why like the division, it doesn't make any sense, because I'll see this sometimes, that I get it when child-free people have been attacked and judged and called out by parents. Hurt people, and the cycle just keeps going round and round.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if we want actual change, if we want the child-free person to be accepted and respected and validated, we actually need parents to raise their children to know they have a choice. So we actually need parents to be on board with our path, as being just as valid as if their kids chose to have children. And having parents in our community say, I'm telling my kids they don't need to have children if they don't want it. Like, they can choose whatever path they want. Like, that's the community that we're building, and that we need people to get on board with, because that's how real change happens.
Yeah, and if you want to be part of the change, you can jump over to Substack, find We Are Childfree there, and you can support us and get some bonus behind the stories content. Lots of special stuff coming up.
Oh yes.
More stories from child-free elders, more takedowns of pronatalism like this. And we would love to have you there to hear from you. Write us a review, drop a comment, get in touch, because we are stronger together, and we need to help share the truth about parenthood and non-parenthood, because it only benefits everyone.
Oh, that was a good little ending.
Wasn't it?
Well
nice little
done.
Positive note.
Well, we turned that around, my God.
We did it so.
Thank God, yeah. Whew, okay, I need a good old shower after all of that dirt and crust, and yeah. That's van life, but also that's Evie life.
Get wash away the scum.
Please.
All right,
just
folks.
hose me down.
On that note, thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.